Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we are bringing back Matt Perry. Matt, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to have you back. I feel like it is always it's always a pleasure to have you on the show because you do things that make my head spin, and that always is a lot of fun for us. So, for folks who aren't familiar with your work, do you want to give us a bit of a background?
Yeah, I'll give this because we were just talking. It can get confusing. I've done so many animation libraries, and I've managed to shoehorn the word motion into all of them. I initially started writing Pop Motion, which is like a JavaScript animation library, but it's very low level. It's not.
We're just going to do the count here.
What's the count?
Yeah, so Pop Motion. That's one library with motion in it.
Oh well, I hope you've got some hands. No, actually, this should just about fit on one. So we've got Pop Motion was the low level JavaScript animation library. It should be super flexible. It's got some low level animation, springs, and stuff like that. But then I built one called Pose, which is
no motion.
That was like a React. No, that was probably the only one I think, and that was sometimes I call it Pop Motion Pose, so I don't know if that counts.
Okay, all right, we'll count it.
That was like and that was my stab at like a declarative React-based animation library. But it worked with like Vue and some other things as well. And then I started working for Framer, who make an amazing website builder tool, which you should all check out, framer.com. And I still make Framer Motion, which is kind of a continuation of Pose. It's a React animation library. And now, alongside that, it's kind of like a side project. It started as an experiment with wtih, like the Web Animations API. I'm building Motion One, which is the last animation library. But obviously, here today, I'm here to talk about Motion DevTools, which is the fifth and final use of motion.
Didn't have to use a single toe.
Yeah, exactly. So Motion One is it's an animation library, sort of meant to be, I guess, a quick way to describe it is like the jQuery of wtih. It's there to smooth over the consistencies between various browser implementations of wtih. They don't all support the same feature sets.
Gotcha.
So it does things like polyfills the finished promise, and this is all these tiny implementation details. And it's also there to expand its capabilities. So for instance, we can do spring animations with independent transforms, which like neither of those things are possible in CSS or wtih. And it's also meant to do, we're trying to leverage the fact that we're using wtih, because by using wtih, we actually get a lot of things for free. Like, so we can interpolate or animate between very complex values like 100 pixels and calc 50 view height times 3 or something, which you can't do in any JavaScript library.
Right.
And when you can, in the situations where you can, you'll usually, like Frame Motion is a good example of this, where we're doing some like applying one set of values, both set of values, measuring it and animating the animation in pixels, which isn't always bulletproof. Whereas when you do it via the native browser APIs, like you get it kind of for free in terms of both file size and runtime performance. Like it's much cheaper in that sense. So it's just it was an experiment just to see how much we can get out of wtih, and how many limitations we can surpass, basically. And it might be that later. Yeah.
I mean, this is really exciting, and I mean, we can tell that it's exciting because we're seeing a lot of first timers in the chat. So welcome to all the folks who are here for the first time. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be great. And thank you, Xander, for gifting 5 subs. That is super appreciated. Thank you very much. People are making jokes about what your next motion library is going to be called. Return of the Motion. The Motion Strikes Back.
Yeah, well, if it goes by the Xbox naming convention, the next one's got to be like Motion Series X, because we've gone back. Motion One is like the 4th one, so.
Oh yeah. Okay, all right. So now we need like to motion to animated.
Yeah, exactly. I
Motion
like it, yeah.
Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, it's just the best one. So
Oh my goodness, yeah.
secretly the best motion library.
All right, so I think when we talk about all of these, so we've got Framer Motion, which is that one is React specific, or is that framework agnostic?
It's React specific.
Okay, and then
to sort of contextualize it, it is also built on Pop Motion. So when I say Pop Motion is like a low level animation library, it's the sort of thing that can, it's so unopinionated that you can build something like Framer Motion on it.
Gotcha.
And in that sense, Motion One is meant to be more like the new Pop Motion than the new Framer Motion. So what I'm trying to work towards is you could build today like a React animation library straight off of Motion One now, and I've kind of done that with like Vue and Solid. So if you go to motion.dev, we have Vue, we have Solid wrappers, and I'm sort of quietly working on a Svelte one as well, but I don't know where I've left that, to be honest. The idea is hopefully to get Motion One into Framer Motion as a replacement for Pop Motion, and then we can start leveraging things like its smaller file size, or its ability to run animations off the main animation thread, or the complex value type interpolation that I was talking about before. But it poses some problems in that, like, there are some limitations with wtih that sort of don't exist, with normal JavaScript animation libraries. So it's not like this Motion One's like a superset of functionality of Pop Motion. And so just by removing it, like, we've got some considerations there. And as I remove more of these limitations, like, we're getting closer to getting Motion One into Framer Motion.
Gotcha. And when you're saying wtih, that is short for Web Animations API, right? And that's the spec?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's the... So there's an API, like every browser basically comes with a JavaScript animation library in it, which is like crazy. Like when I as someone who's been writing these for years, I thought this is actually kind of crazy that we don't use it always. And so I started playing around with it, thinking maybe it's an education thing. And when I used it, I ran into so many cross-browser problems, blah, 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 that this is how I ended up writing Motion One in the first place.
And so you mentioned that this is kind of like the jQuery for wtih, which is, I think, an apt description, because like jQuery existed not because we didn't have JavaScript available, but because the implementation between browsers was so inconsistent that jQuery was needed to smooth out the usage. And so you've effectively done that. You're looking at the way that, say, Firefox or Chromium implement the same API, and there are subtle differences in how they work. And then you're making it so that if I use one method, it's the same on Chromium, Firefox, wherever we want to implement.
Yeah, exactly. And in some ways, like the same way that jQuery is almost like an edit of some APIs that perhaps weren't just as nice as they could have been to use. I sort of see it like that as well. Like, it's a bit of an edit. So the scroll linked animations that were just released 2 weeks ago is kind of a good example. Like, I've been looking into the progression of there's some upcoming, like the same way we've got wtih, we're going to get some upcoming like scroll linked animation APIs, which is pretty exciting. But I didn't necessarily like the way, it's personal preference, but I personally didn't love the way that the API was shaping up. I thought it'd be nice to do my sort of how I'd like to see it, but do it in a way that under the hood, when these APIs are finished, we can sort of plug those in quietly, like without anyone noticing. So in the browsers where it's supported, we'll run it on the browser's scroll linked animation libraries, and where they're not supported, we still got that JavaScript implementation that we can leverage.
It. No, I love that. I mean, and to me, that's always what makes this stuff nice, right? And it feels like this is the way I like to see userland libraries and platforms kind of work together. Is the platforms put some tools out there, and they're building what they need for their specific platform. And then userland goes out and they look at what all the platforms are building and put together a kind of more cohesive version that's hey, this is what we need in real life. And then the platforms can observe that and then pull the pieces that make sense back into the platform. And this is what we saw with jQuery, where jQuery was kind of a superset of the browser JavaScript APIs. And then a lot of the most useful bits of jQuery have just been built back into the spec. Query selector and, a handful of things that jQuery offered are now part of the JavaScript spec and offered in all browsers without jQuery, which is wonderful. Like it's such a good collaboration between the browser vendors and the people working on client code is to say, all right, I need these things, so I'm going to use a library that does these things. And then the browsers are saying, great, we see that you need those things and this is implemented well, everybody can agree on it, so we're going to pull that back into the spec to decrease the amount of client-side JavaScript you got to load, and on, and it just kind of becomes this great like collaborative upward cycle where we all win in the end. Do you end up having a lot of conversations with the WAPI spec team?
Not overly. Like it will always be to sort of like actually everyone that I've spoken to is like super helpful and stuff. If I've got questions about like how was this implemented, why was it like this and stuff like that. But one thing I would say is that like, I've been writing animation libraries for years. Like we've got Jack from GreenSock, like he's been doing it for literally decades. I don't see any discussion about GreenSock in these spec conversations. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, interesting.
And I find that crazy. Like this, the scroll timeline stuff's going on right now. I haven't seen a single mention of GreenSock's scroll trigger, which to me is like the waterline. This is like this is what we should be. If this is native, boom, like you're done. And you don't really see. So I haven't actually been that involved. And sometimes, like when you're someone like used to working predominantly I at work, like I find that I'm often like it's often like quite an isolated, it's very focused. It's always like animation, and obviously you work with other people and stuff, but it's often like a very hyper focused part to work in. It can be, even from my point of view, it's not like I see all these discussions and I'm like, man, I'd love to get involved with these. Like sometimes I'll speak up, but it feels like quite a closed club and quite what would I say? Like when these things when they take so long because everyone's trying to decide what's best, you as someone who's used to just like kind of just do it, it can be frustrating the other way. So it's a bit of everything. I think there's maybe a problem in terms of that feedback cycle, but I also think that people like me, and I don't speak for any of these other library authors, but I sort of suspect it's the same situation. People who kind of just have that, you kind of have that itch just to get something done, and maybe don't feel like you need too many or want too many like things that could. Because it can sometimes be like more confusing than not to get those other opinions.
Well, and I think you're bringing up something that I think is important, which is that the library authors are out there seeing problems and solving those problems, and they're not particularly worried about like the concern is I have a project and I need to solve a problem for this project, and the spec authors are committed to like don't break the internet, right? So that every decision they make needs to be thought of not just for how does it solve problems today, but how will this live into the future? How will this affect things that were done in the past? Is this going to break backward compatibility? There's all these concerns that necessarily slow down those decisions. And this is actually something that I find to be one of the healthiest parts of the open source to platform relationship, is that like I, as a developer, would like to use the platform, but there are a lot of things that I need to build today that aren't built into the platform. You mentioned scroll trigger. What a killer invention. Like just an absolutely wonderful feature. And when I saw it, I was like, I need that. And so I look, it's not in the platform. So I can adopt GSAP, use scroll trigger today, solve my problem, and then I hope that the platform picks it up, so that eventually I don't need to install all of the JavaScript to run GSAB, and I still get that feature. And I think on the long horizon, we're after that sort of thing. And my expectation is that you will give me Motion, you'll give me Motion One, and then we'll launch a second version of it, and that can break backward compatibility, because that's okay. I'm going to use it on a new project. I'll rewrite. But when I adopt the web APIs, I expect I can let those things run forever, and I'll never, ever have to touch them again, because they will always work. And I think that, to me, is, I don't know, I feel like that's almost like the right balance of fast to slow. I do wish there was, like, as with all situations, I wish the collaboration was just super tight and everybody was really open and really wanted to work together. But I'm also very happy that we're not, like, really hauling ass on the browser specs, because I don't want broken browsers.
No, absolutely. Like, and I say this with full knowledge that I'm working in a space where if I break, like, I can undo things because I can. But when you're working in this, once it's out and it's out there, then that's the situation. So, and so there's also a freedom, I guess, from in multiple ways, like the speed and the ability to undo your own mistakes, to version control. But we need, I'd rather that it was slow. I think maybe the feedback loop could be better, but I think in general, like, we're super lucky that there's people out there that are, taking the time to get it right, the first time.
Yeah. And so let me take a slight step in a different direction here, because I want to talk about using a library like Motion One, which can be kind of low level, especially for folks who, like me, don't spend a lot of time in animation. One of the things that gets really confusing for me very quickly is when I start thinking about, okay, we've got the animation, but the animation is happening on a loop. So I'm not just saying, like, take this thing and put it over here. I have to say, okay, so I want it to be here. I want it to end over here, and then I want that to take a few seconds. So that means that I've got to set up this kind of loop where I'm figuring out how far away it is. And now I want to do easing. So you got to do this math. And it starts to get very complicated to visualize and sort of manage very quickly. And so I know that you've been working on tools to make the actual implementation of these things easier, like the things that give you springs and different physics and the way to make things animate smoothly. But how do I debug this stuff? Like, what's the right way to get a sense of what's actually happening, so that when I think it should be doing one thing and it's doing a different thing, I can start to understand what I did in my code? Because a lot of times I'm just copy pasting an easing function, or I'm looking at an example somewhere and saying, like, oh yeah, quantitative ease in out seems like what I need. Let me go do that. And I have no idea what it means or what it's for, or if I even said it correctly just now.
I think the gist was, I was on board, so I feel like it was correct enough.
I just made something up. Apparently, Chad is letting me know.
We've been exposed to too much financial meltdown news recently. I think that's probably what's going on here. So what I'd say, I'd be interested actually, because I know that you use Edge, or is that correct? So in Chrome, there is of course the Elements tab, and you can inspect the CSS properties that have been applied to something, which is fine, I think. Like, if you want to just tinker around with some values, for sure. And what else do you have? The animations. There's an actual animations tab that you can go into, and you can record the animations that happen on screen. But the recent, so I'm here to talk about Motion DevTools, which is a developer debug panel, the same way that you have your elements, your console. It's a panel in your developers tool where you can plot animations on a timeline, scrub through them, edit the keyframes, move them around, and all this sort of thing, delete, add new values, etc. So we do actually have one inbuilt to the browser. So I don't know if this is true for Edge. It'd be quite interesting to see how much they take from Chrome. But in Chrome, it's kind of limited, so that you can only do CSS and wtih, and whereas Motion DevTools is here for Motion One as well. It doesn't do frame of motion yet, but we'll see. I think we'll probably end up doing something with this. Like if Motion One ends up in frame of motion, great. We've already got the we've already
Right.
got it. But I wonder if we'll do something more specific for Framer. I don't know. Something that we can use to debug the sites that we make, maybe live in a browser. I don't know what it is yet, but these are just ideas. But that's something more might come out of this in terms of Framer. But this could be extended for any JavaScript animation library. I haven't released any APIs as yet. But I think the problem with the inbuilt tools is that lack of extensibility.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've... sorry, I'm just going to close the window because the sun has decided to make himself known. I can't actually see anyone. Yeah, amazing lighting on that. Yeah, well... I think I was going to go blind if I let that amazing lighting bless me any further. So so there's things like so the animation tab. So the problem is there's certain things that you'd expect from like a timeline editor if you're used to the Flash days. It doesn't work so well, so you can't really like scrub through the animation. I think you can replay it, but I don't think you can start it from like a specific place. There's some of the things like that are just kind of like. And it's easy to imagine why. I don't know how much it's used, but they've probably got bigger fish to fry. This is like a huge team, but yeah. So that's why I came, like, because I was always frustrated with that lack of toolage. I guess is probably a word. If it's not, it suits the last. It probably won't last beyond this last sentence. But yeah. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let me actually switch us over because I think at this point it's going to be easier to show than tell. So I'll pop us over into the pair programming view, get this window out of the way, and we'll start by doing a quick shout out to our captioning. We've got Rachel here today taking down all these words. Thank you, Rachel, for that, over from White Coat Captioning. And that is made possible through the support of our sponsors. We've got Netlify, NX, and New Relic, all kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people, which I very much appreciate. You can all go and find that on the homepage of learnwithjason.dev if you want to follow along with the captions yourself. In addition to that, we are talking to Matt today. So you can head over to the old Twitter and get information about all animation related thing. Any library with the name Motion in it, Matt's your man. We're talking about Motion today. I already dropped a link, but I'll drop it again. Here's motion.dev. And this is the jQuery for the Web Animations API. So I'll drop one more link there as well. With that said, Matt, what should I look at if I want to... before we started, you sent me a link to download a plugin or an extension, right? So I'll open up the Motion site because this is very cool and I want to keep looking at it. But you had me install Motion DevTools. And
yeah, that's right.
That's all that I've done so far.
Brilliant. See, I've neglected this button here that I didn't really realize. I take all my extensions out of the top bar. But now that I've seen it on yours, I'm thinking it might be cool to, like, if we detect, the same way React DevTools, if we detect an animation that's inspectable, we make the icon blue and you click it.
Yeah.
I don't think you can open the DevTools from it, though. That's the problem. So now if you scroll down to, this is quite an easy animation. So right now, if you right click on this and go to inspect, I guess. Sorry, inspect. I'm not familiar with Edge. So this looks, is this Chrome? Oh, we are in Chrome. This isn't Edge anymore.
This is Edge, but it's effectively the same browser at this point.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe it's probably got the animation tool. But anyway,
it probably does, would be my guess.
I'm sort of excited. Do you know what? I'm interested. If it's possible, can we see the little chevrons at the top there? I believe that should. So if you go up a bit, and there's another chevron. There's chevrons everywhere on this. There we go. Ah, okay. I was expecting that to have more, but yeah, Motion will do. I can't see the animations panel.
Let's see. It might be. No. Show animations. This one?
Okay. So if you scroll this panel, because it's this panel is using Motion One's in view function. So basically, when it scrolls out of the screen, it will just stop the animation so that you can keep sections of your page super performant. But if you scroll out and then scroll back in again, I'm curious to see. Okay, so it has got it looks like one of these at the bottom there. Yeah, so you can see these little thumbnails. I don't know how clear that is. Yeah, no, but so this one looks like it might be all right. So if you click on this, you can't. Does that screenshot just get in the way every time
you let me
try and click on it? This is the sort of thing that I'm trying to fix. So
there it is.
Okay, brilliant. So you can maybe like move a timeline, I guess. You can replay it from the beginning, but other than that, I'm not sure like how much functionality there is here. Especially if this is a wacky animation, you can't go in. I thought it was the ball. It's got two things.
Which one are you? This is the circle. Okay.
The circle.
Okay, this is okay. I was controlling the one below it. That's what was going wrong. So we've got our ball, and then I want to. If I start messing with this, then what happens?
So you can move the keyframes quite easily. But because this animation was built with Motion One, so therefore it's in WAPI. So in the CSS property panel, there's nowhere to change the values and see what it would look like with a different scale or anything like that. And you can't, I don't know, maybe they've changed it, but can you scrub the animation or anything like that? So with the playhead at the top there.
Doesn't look like it. Let me see if can I grab you? Stop. Oh, come here.
Oh, you can.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. I wonder if they've changed it or if I'm just. So there's some stuff, I guess, some features here. But because we've done this in WAPI, it's a bit limited. And the other thing that I find kind of annoying is that even when it's in CSS, you can't then hop into the elements panel and check. Like, I mean, you can have them open at once, but they're kind of disconnected, and it doesn't really always make sense. Like, okay, I'm clicking on this keyframe, what's applied? Like, you don't really know what you're editing at any given time.
Right.
So if you close this panel and and then in the chevron,
this is what I needed to do. I moved it to the top, and now I can actually use it. So it was like a bonus feature, and now I've added it as a top feature. But okay, so now I'm clicking on motion.
Okay, so now by default, this is the motion tab. By default, there's in the top left, you can see this like little red button, and that is the record button. It's on by default. So when you open the tab, it's already running. So if you scroll, do the same trick as before, scroll down and scroll back again. So now we've got two animations. I believe this is the one because it says clip path and scale. And you can see now you can scrub between these two keyframes. Usually there's because that's repeating. There should be a repeat. Usually there's a repeat icon. I wonder what I've done there. But anyway, you can you can play, you can pause, you can skip back to the beginning. But you can also, if you click on these little magnifying glasses by their names, you can go directly to the element that you're. Which one's this? Oh, maybe this is this one. Infinity.
Okay. I think I did something where I like scrolled in and out really quickly. So all right, this one's got the.
It could have been why there were so many before as well. Yeah. So. That's the one. Yeah. And this will just go on for forever, basically. But here you can go in here. Now, these are, so what we're in at the moment is just called inspect mode, and it's the free like mode. At some point, because I'm using, there's a library called Lever, Leva, and it's really good, but it does these property controls. And what I want is for them to be copyable, even in edit mode, inspect mode, sorry. But they're currently not. But you can at least see, this one's circle 105 pixels, blah, blah, blah. And you can go directly to the element using the magnifying glass. So you know, I was here. So you can get this sort of workflow going, even just in inspect mode. And just being able to visualize the animation in terms of keyframes, I hope is like quite useful for people.
Yeah.
But there is the sort of like the true mode is unlockable. And at the moment it's unlockable for $49 forever. So but normally it's a subscription, but for Learning with Jason, we're doing this at $49 forever. And I added you anyway. So if you just go into, if you click on login, this should work. And then, yeah, if we authorize Motion One, I don't take any of your personal data. Brilliant.
Oh.
Okay. So now that's unlocked. So now you've got like the full thing, right? And so you can, yeah, you can do anything. You can change the easing curve. You can change the, so the clip path is, oh, just in Yanir. Hi, Yanir, from I know you from Twitter. It doesn't work with frame of motion. I was explaining at the beginning. If Motion One ends up in frame of motion, which I'm actively working towards, then this or something like it at some point will, like this sort of experience will end up working with frame of motion at some point. I don't know if it'll be this or if we'll do something with Framer, but that's the plan. Yeah, so you've got pretty much free. So at the moment, I see that the Bezier, if you bring the if you make the DevTools panel just a bit higher, you can see that we've got.
I've got more. Okay.
Yeah. It's just it gets cut off, and you can do things like delete the keyframe, or you can even add. So I can't draw on this screen, can I?
So like I can start messing with these a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So you can move them around. Yeah, see where they want to sit in the timeline. You can put them like past each other and stuff. So you can like swap the keyframe position if you want. But you can also add new keyframes. So on the div 2, you can see that there's this little plus icon. So here we can add, say, X. And then if you click anywhere within this, oh, that's upsetting. Oh, that's upsetting. A crasher.
Okay, try it again. Or did it like crash?
I think you need to close the DevTools and it's your one fear coming on a show like this.
Okay, so we've got our animation.
Let's try it again, but I suspect the reproduction path is going to be exactly the same. But I'm okay. Fingers crossed. Oh, well, at least I know exactly where that bug is. So the problem with DevTools is that it is incredibly difficult to get a good testing regime going because it has to be like, I haven't really figured out a good way to load it into. So if anyone knows, if anyone has any expertise in this, I haven't found a great way to load it into like a Jest or a Cypress, because obviously it's a DevTools thing. Maybe yeah, let's try Field. Okay, well, that's weird.
It doesn't like any
normally,
of it.
By the end of tomorrow, you'll be able to add new values to the thing. It's a shame because that's probably my favorite feature. It's weird. Anyway, I won't think too deeply on it. But anyway, that's the thing. And you can rename existing values as well. So then, say if you want to swap X for Y, you just change the name for it. But yeah, as you can see here, you can change the.
Oh yeah, so you can really quickly start kind of putting some stuff together here and figuring out, whoa, if I do it this way, then this happens. And, just starting to like bounce it around a little bit. That's fun. Ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, and the nice thing is, if you now you can click on in the bottom left, we've got this export button. And here, I kind of wanted to read,
Oh,
obviously, but we've got, so this isn't the world. This isn't what this isn't is the code that you wrote back at you. Like, it's just kind of, we've generated this kind of from scratch because we only get like certain, values and stuff. But what it does do is let you copy some of the code, like some of you've changed the easing or the keyframes, as you can see there. You can just
right,
come in here, fish it out, and stick it back into your code.
right. So like I added this
And
value here.
yeah, exactly. Which is nice. And if you go to, so this animation was made in Motion One, so it's defaulted to the Motion One tab. But you can do things like you can go to CSS animation, and this is the same animation, but in
Oh,
CSS animation syntax.
nice.
And likewise, you've got the CSS transition. Now, okay, so something to point out here with CSS animations and transitions is obviously CSS transitions can't do multiple keyframes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can come in here and you can get like an animation to the final keyframe. Because this is a multi-keyframe animation, it won't look exactly the same. But the other thing to point out is Motion, while you're seeing some of these CSS variables, is Motion One. So WAPI CSS, none of them can animate independent transforms. So you can animate the transform string as a whole, but you can't animate, say, this is getting a little better, but so very modern browsers will support scale, for instance. So you could animate translate X and Y as one property, and you could animate scale as another property. But if you want to animate them with different easing curves, and you want one to start at a different time, say scales your hover, you can't do that in most browsers. You can do it in some, but what you can't do in any browser, and there's no plans for this to change, is animate individual axes independently. So if you want to animate translate, it has to be X and Y together. If you want to animate scale, it has to be X and Y together. Whereas in Motion One, it has this little system in the background where it will automatically animate the CSS variables and construct a transform string that will apply. So you're able to animate each of these individually, and this is like invaluable when it comes to something like frame of motion or whatever it is. Where, like I say, most often it's it's like the in view and the hover animations. So something you're scrolling through and it like enlarges when it pops into view, or you are hovering over something, like I say, or pressing as well. So that tends to be when you use those. But what this does is converts that kind of system into CSS. So if you scroll up to the very top of this little window here, which apparently we're already there, and we have this thing called at property motion scale. Now, what I'm going to do, I think, as a future feature, is put a little warning sign when we're doing something like this, because what this is a brand new CSS Houdini API that allows you to register CSS variables and give them a type. And so this one's saying this is a number. So now Chrome knows how to animate that with WAPI. It could be anything. You can do things like color and stuff, but haven't needed to do anything like that here. But you could do stuff like that.
Got it.
And so you can see how this is all sort of coming together there.
Yeah. Okay. This is really cool. Like we need to do a whole episode on Houdini, because that's a whole mystery to me. But it's extremely cool to me that we were able to kind of mess around with this, add in some different pieces, and you kind of get some good animation chaos here very, very quickly. And I didn't have to do anything, right? Like I just kind of clicked on some stuff and then decided I was going to play around with it, and I can make things bigger or smaller or whatever. And you just immediately, this is intuitive. I can sort of understand what I'm doing, what I'm trying. Feels like that is a good. Feels good.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm glad to hear it, because that's the sort of. I feel like for too long we're a bit like in the browser, then we bump out into our code editor, fiddle around, come back, and we do this ping pong. Whereas actually with CSS, a lot of the time we don't do that ping pong. We edit it live in the browser, and then when we're happy, we copy the things that we changed, paste them back into. Which I'm not saying it's an ideal workflow either, but it's what it's slightly that feedback loop is much tighter than what we do for animations. So. I'm kind of trying to get back to that experience and trying to get back some of that Flash playfulness as well, like bring back some of that.
That really is like, I don't miss a lot of things about the era of the internet where Flash was kind of reigning supreme, because I didn't like when every website was a mystery, and I didn't like when everything played music when you opened it. But oh man, I miss Flash games. I miss the creativity that you would see on sites where their homepage was just kind of a fun little animated thing. And we're seeing some of that come back, and I'm really happy to see it. But APIs like this are what get us there, because at the moment we're just not, it's just a lot of work, and the cross-browser inconsistency and the having everybody's computer try to take off into orbit whenever you spin up your animations, because they're so JavaScript heavy and non-performant. It makes we need, like, I want that whimsy back on the internet. I want us to start experimenting with more goofy. I see Jay's in the chat. I imagine this is very up Jay's alley. But yeah, it's like, I just noticed all the eyeballs in the biblically accurate Twitch chat. That's a good one. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. So this is very cool, and I feel like we could probably sit in here and tweak on this a little bit. But did you want to try something? Like maybe we can build something and see what we get to?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I don't know what your preferred workflow is, but let's do whatever it is. Let's do that.
Okay, I usually just work in something like Vite. If we're working with Motion One, is there a specific library that we should do? Keep it vanilla?
No, but and the other thing that I'd say is that we don't have to work in. This could be CSS. We can, if you're happy with CSS animation, CSS transitions, we could use those.
Okay. Let's do npm. What is it? Create. Is this right? Yes. Okay, and we're gonna do Motion DevTools. Yeah. And I am going to. Should I use vanilla or React? What do you think?
You could use Vue.
Okay, we can use Vue. You're going to teach me a lot of Vue.
Oh no! I don't know anything about Vue. I just really, let's say I know I'm happy in React.
Okay.
In that case,
I see you in the chat, Matt, but I'm going without TypeScript. Sorry. Sorry, everyone. I get. Just torturing Matt Pocock. That's my new hobby. Let's open this up so we can see what's going on. And here we go. Why does it want me to install Docker? Not today. Let's so we've got a really basic site here. Looks like there is some defaults set and a plain old div, and we can work from there. So I'll just do one of these.
I haven't actually used Vite before. I don't know. It feels like I'm missing out on something here.
Oh yeah, I need to update my Netlify CLI because the Vite target port changed, and that threw things off. So now it went from being 3000 before to being 5173. So older versions of the Netlify CLI are still looking for the original Vite setup. So let's do all this. We'll get Netlify dev going. And it's still using the wrong version. All right, we're just going to run npm run dev. I'm not going to debug the Netlify CLI and why my system is not installing properly. So here we go. We've got this nice fast Vite setup.
Sorry.
We've lost Matt.
I just can't. Yeah, straight out I can't get over the crasher, you see. So I was straight for the nearest exit. I can't win with these windows. So this is interesting because this already has the React logo was animating, and I wonder what happens if we inspect the page.
Yeah, let's try. So I'm gonna go over here. We'll open up Motion, and I'm gonna make this bigger. And it looks like this is done with.
So if you refresh the page, I believe.
There it is.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So that's the. So we can see that. Oh, this isn't our day.
Refresh the page. We got our image. We got our transform, and it doesn't like that one. That's
a shame. I wonder what's going on. And it's funny because I was just thinking today.
It could definitely be that I'm in Edge and not Chrome.
It could be. I hadn't really considered that.
Oh boy, I haven't even installed Chrome on this browser. Okay, we're.
Yeah, I will say. Okay, that's a fair point to make. It's like Chrome only, and I was curious to see how well it ran in Edge.
And we're learning.
But I do. Yeah, yeah. Well, it keeps it interesting. You got to keep on your toes. What happens if you, just out of interest, if you scroll over to the right? Yeah, maybe it is. Let me just check something on my end. So that seems like a super long. What's that? 20. So that's a 20-second animation.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it does one rotation every 20 seconds. I get it. And if I wanted to make that absurd, we could do like triple the speed.
Yeah, and the ease and curve is. I've got to give a shout out as well to again to Levo, which is I can't pronounce, but I can't pronounce the people who make it. And it's the same team as that makes React Springs, sorry. And oh yeah, go for it.
Is it like Bostonian? Is it Leva?
That's it. Yeah, no, that's it. Yes. Lever is.
Wait, what did I do? That was not Bostonian. I went Australian, and I don't know why.
If you have watched 30 Rock, have you watched 30 Rock?
I have.
There's a Bostonian accent on that is just Julianne Moore, perhaps.
Oh my God! Yes,
it's quite upsetting. Yes. And I feel like your Bostonian accent just now.
I don't even think it was. It wasn't even remotely close. It was not even the right continent, everyone. So please don't clip that. I don't want that. No one's ever going to see. We're going to edit that out of the final episode. So I think it is letting me edit, but I don't think it's actually working. Let me see if I can shorten this up and make it go faster.
In the industry, we call that a bug. No, yeah, I don't know what that is. Let's see. Well, let's do a homegrown one because I think that is odd, and I haven't seen it before. But let's So what's that using keyframes?
All right, I'm going to delete most of this. I'm gonna leave that bit. Now it works.
There she go.
Okay, I think I might know what's going on. I think what's happening is Vite is doing something with the CSS so that when we make edits, it's not getting picked up until we do hot module reloading.
Yes,
but that's okay. Now that we know
right.
that, we can account for that. So when I'm in here, I need to also. Are you like? There you go. There you go. Now there's no animation. And I can go into my app.jsx, and maybe we just clean this all up for now and say one of these. Okay, so now we've got one of these, and we can go in and start doing our actual setup. Okay, so we want to animate something. I would like to animate. What's a good thing to animate?
Well, is this stupid? We could do the people love per letter. It's kind of interesting. People always love per letter text. Like, so we could make this wave basically.
Yeah. Okay, let's go in here and we'll do like just do one of these and say font size. We'll make it a little bit bigger. We'll say like 2 rem. Yeah, and let's give it a font weight of, make it nice and beefy. Do a text transform of uppercase. All right, that's looking okay. And then if I close this up, I can make this smaller too. So, all right, how should I go about doing a per letter?
So how you should do it and how we're going to do it is probably slightly different, but how you should do it is probably grab a library. But what we're going to do, so the first thing to do, because the reason why I suggested this is because I seem to always get asked it, and it's quite a kind of interesting problem. I wonder if part of the reason that people run into issues with this is that so if you wrap so the first thing we have to do is to make a letter animatable, we have to wrap it in its own element. So the first thing to do is to wrap each one in a span. So it's a good job we didn't choose like some Lorem Ipsum paragraph here. Well, that was a new move. I don't think I've seen that one before. How did you get them to just go down one per line? I was
hitting Alt-click the whole way so that I could just hit enter once.
Yeah. Oh, boom, yeah.
But yeah, having a short word was definitely the move. So then that means I can make these display. What do we want? Inline block.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. So, but that was a good inline block. They have to be at least inline block, yeah.
Because if I make them block, we get one of these.
Yeah.
But they need to have layout, because if they're inline, some of the properties aren't animatable, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I wanted to say. Yes. Yeah, that's a great. I'm glad you pointed. Yeah.
See, I feel like whenever I wonder if, like, I feel like most of this show is me taking a pop quiz, and I'm so happy when I know a thing.
Yeah.
So many times it's just me like taking a wild guess, and you can just see the expert is looking at me like, "Oh, you poor silly fool."
No. That's it. And because you get this, it comes up in a lot. Like, this isn't working. This animation isn't working. Not almost always, but a lot of the time it's a span or another display inline element. And yeah, transforms don't apply to and I've been tripped up by this, and I know that it happens. So I could only, if you don't know that it happens and you think you're going mad, basically. So display inline, learning by guessing, basically. That is essentially how I've debugged this before. Like when you're in the pit of despair and you're trying like everything, like maybe if I make it position absolute and make it red, like, well, that
border 1 pixel solid red. That is I think maybe my trustiest of debugging tools.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so for a wavy animation, I guess the easiest thing here is animation colon wave 2 seconds. I think I'm such a JavaScript animator that I don't really know the full syntax here, but yeah.
What is it? It's like infinite, because that'll give us that'll loop it. Okay, so now we don't have an animation, but we make one with keyframes wave, and then what do we do? 0% and 100%.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we want so if we make them, yeah,
it'll at least get us started, right? So we can do what's the right move here? Do we want to start it at like transform and then it could be like translate y 10 pixels?
yeah, someone suggested minus 50%, which is
cool. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, that's a nice. I like that. I like the responsiveness of this.
And then we will bring it back to 0. And theoretically, look at it go. Okay, so that's a little bit slow. So let's go like 200 milliseconds. Oh, that's too fast. Too fast. That's a little better. I'm going to slow it back down just so that we're not getting the like jiggle that's a little jarring. So we'll do this nice and slow, and then we'll speed it up again once we figure out what we want. So the next thing then is we need to offset this by its index, right? So like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And
yeah, which I guess we can do. Like, is it span nth child 1, nth child 2?
Yeah, is there? Jay's in here. Jay, do you know, is there a way in CSS to like use the nth child index in the CSS, or do we need to like set this as a variable? We'll see what Jay comes back with. And while we're waiting, I'm going to do so here's what we can do. We can do like an offset 0, and then what we really need is like an animation offset of, right? We'll do like offset times 50 milliseconds. And I believe what that should do, assuming I'm using all of this correctly, is that right now it's not going to do anything. So everything stays the same. But if we go into one of these, nth child 1, then we'll do an offset of 2. And then that should mean, it means nothing. Animation delay, not offset. See? See what happened, y'all?
That is right. Yeah.
So it's a little goofy, but it's doing the thing, right? Splitting will do that for us. That would be ideal, but because we don't have that, we are going to instead just hit this with a hammer. So we've got 7 letters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2. Oh no. What am I doing?
Oh.
Let's do it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll just do the old one of these. Nope.
Sometimes this is the fastest, because you know that the time that it took you to come up with the clever solution, you could have just done the copy paste solution.
Absolutely could have. And then this one, is it a 0 or is it? Let's try 0 and see what happens. Okay, so this is good. But now what we need to do is We probably want it to be like.
Actually, this is.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, this is a good. So I feel like two of these are sort of. So if you press record now, and refresh or get it to.
Save this, refresh. Let's record. Okay.
So if you look at animation 2. So in the tab. Oh, by the way, I figured out what this bug was. And it's a me problem. I've integrated a library properly, but it's a first keyframe problem.
Oh, okay. So if I use the second keyframe, we're fine.
Yeah, the second keyframes are fine. And this is why when we added a new value, the first time we added crashed the thing. So I will fix this imminently. Yeah, so this should, on the graph, we should be able to see now how they're staggered, if they're staggering correctly or as we want them.
Okay, so I was just informed that nth child starts at 1, so I'm going to move this back, and that should give us the... Interesting how that just happened. It like...
Oh, well, that could be... That could be
the hot module reloading messing with all of it.
Yeah, it's so once you're inspecting an animation, and then you and if it tries to start again, you're inspecting it, so it doesn't necessarily work correctly.
That's okay. We'll in this particular case, we know what we're doing, so we'll just we'll refresh whenever we make a change, and it's short animation, so that should be okay. So then the next piece is figuring out what I would like for it to do is each one to kind of go whoop, right? Like we want that. So that means we need to start at 0 and then like a fast ease up and a slower ease down to make it look like a kind of whoop, right? You're gonna have to talk me through this because I'm
just sorry. You want a fast up?
I think we'd probably want it to kind of like swing up a little faster, and then kind of look like if you take a towel and you kind of like flip the towel out, it goes up fast and then it kind of drifts down at the end.
In that case, I reckon we probably want a 50% keyframe.
Okay.
Where the transform is...
Oh wait, I want to do it out here. I want to do it in the tools.
So this...
Okay, so here's my 50%. Okay, and then we want like an ease in. And then we want this one to be like translate back to 0. Oh, but then we need this.
This is the problem. This is okay. Yeah. I don't really want that first keyframe to be 0.
Okay, I'm gonna make the first keyframe 0, and that way we can mess with this a little bit more without everything exploding. Let me just refresh that one more time. Here's our keyframe.
So we've only got one. So this is something I'm confused about. So if you go to animation 2 and 3 here in the tabs, so this is all of our animations, and I'm thinking something to do with the scheduling of these animations, because they're delayed one after another by how much. Yeah, I'm a little confused, to be honest, because we do handle delay and you can edit it. So I'm wondering if we've hit some sort of edge case where CSS animations defined in CSS animations, the delay's not coming through, and maybe it's something to do.
Yeah, I don't know, because they're here.
But I've seen this before. So where depending on what frame, so we group these animations together based on our own arbitrary. I try and do, I think, a 2-frame window, and any animations that start in that 2-frame window is considered like the same animation. And I'm wondering if the delay here with CSS animations, for whatever reason, is starting the animations when the delay has finished, not like to start, and because usually you get the animation, you get a delay period, and that's considered kind of part of the animation, I believe. Which is why in the timeline they're all starting from the same point. This is my theory. But yeah, we see here the delay isn't coming through.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, the delay would be not on the keyframes, but rather on the. Yep, we lose the delay.
Yeah, it tends to be on the. Yeah, what happens if you change the calc? So we've got calc var offset 500 milliseconds. This shouldn't be a problem because I think we use the computed.
Just
if
change
you
it
make
to
that like 100 milliseconds for everything, I'm just curious as to what happens there. Oh, sorry, not times. I think they'd have to all be the same. But I'm just curious as to. Now this is learning with. You're teaching me.
Yeah, let's try. Let's see what happens. So we're gonna record. I'm loading, and now they've all shown up. So the delay did work as expected. And if I come in here and I make another one, we're gonna do 50%. Let's get back and try again. It doesn't like my keyframe.
Yeah, it's not you. I feel like this is a situation like you're saying about the hot reloading of Vite. Like I said, I've never tried it with Vite, and I'm wondering. Well,
maybe something in the way that it's. Yeah, I wonder if it's something in the way that this is. Wait, yeah, what just happened there?
Delay and stagger viz is done one in Firefox. I haven't checked it out in Firefox, but I should because yeah. I'm having trouble. Like the delay seems to be like easy enough because you put the first keyframe like into the animation by that amount, but negative delays are valid, and we don't visualize that well in the tool at the moment. So yeah, negative stagger would be really, really good.
A negative stagger, okay. Negative stagger like this?
Oh no, sorry, I was just responding to the chat. Boom. Well, it's a shame the DevTools didn't reflect this, but the animation is looking better, and it's got it's in rubber ducking mode at the moment.
All right, so let's go.
The fact that it was there.
Does 5 little wags. Right? This is fun. Okay.
I feel like that's
so we can probably do one of these, and then let's do one of these, and it's 700 milliseconds, so we'll slow down the delay a little bit.
And now, just out of curiosity, if you click that middle keyframe there,
and I want to change it.
Okay, so now it works. I'm curious as to what's going on, but yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah, that's fun. So we probably actually want to pull this up, right? Oh, and yeah, okay. So that's kind of pulling everything together here. We get our sort of wackadoo. One of these, make it kind of aggressive, right? And then what we can do is sort of pull this all together to be a little more like, yeah, that should be fun. Okay, so then if I export this, I get, this is my cubic bezier, so I'm gonna grab this one and drop it on.
We could probably,
here?
Yes.
Oh, so this is me screwing up here. That's why that didn't work.
Yeah, so this should work, I believe. Is it in the keyframe? Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Boom.
Look at that. We got some
Nice.
some basic pieces going on here. So if I reload again, we've got all these, and now if I want to go in, it crashes. But that, and I love CSS. Chat, have I ever told you that I love CSS? Have you ever noticed? What's up, Alex? Thank you for the raid. What's up, everybody? Yeah, this is fun. Okay, so you want to try anything else?
I wouldn't mind showing you. This is slightly adjacent to the DevTools, but a quick introduction to, and I can send you the. I'd just like to show you at least the scroll animations.
Yeah.
So this is a new scroll animations API in Motion One, and it's made its way into Frame of Motion as well with the new U scroll hook.
Okay.
And yeah, so let me just stick this out for you.
I assume I'm installing Motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So have you? Is that installed? Sorry, I've switched.
I've got it. Yeah, I've got it installed, so I'm ready to use it.
Brilliant. Okay. So in if we get rid of this and what we want,
I'll probably just drop it in because it's scroll triggered, right? So I'll probably just drop it down below.
Yeah, I mean, why mess with perfection? You don't want to get rid of the.
That's what I
the
always
wavy
say.
text.
And call this waggle text because that's what it is in my heart. And then this one will be. What do you call this feature?
Scroll. 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 I just call it scroll. Scroll linked animations. That's kind of.
Okay, so we'll just give it a scroll, and then I'll end up making this one a little bit bigger so that we can tag on scroll. And then, yeah, what do we want to build in here?
I was thinking just something that makes images fade in when they scroll into view.
Gotcha. Okay, something that makes images fade in. So we would want a list of images, and we can go to the old Unsplash. And today it is hot outside, so I'm going to get pictures of ice cream.
Oh,
beauty. Look at these beautiful photos. So we're gonna get this one, and as you don't get alt text, do you? I'm gonna use the same, forgive me chat, I'm gonna use the same alt text for everything. Photo, or it doesn't need to be, you don't need to tell people it's a photo. It's ice cream. And then I'm gonna save that, okay? And then I'm gonna make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let's get a few more photos of ice cream. So here's, did I lose my search? I did. All right, so we'll get one more and drop this one up here. Get, that one looks delicious. Start collapsing these ones down that we've already done. Delicious. I wasn't thinking about getting ice cream today, and I think I've changed my own mind. Why are you going to show me an empty cone? Look, I love a waffle cone as much as the next person, but come on now. Here, get this one. And you know what? I'm going to call that good. That's enough. So I'm going to delete these other two. So now, if we come out here and we look, we have all of these photos. They're way too big, so I'm going to do a little bit of work here. This one's going to be waggle text, and that is going to be min height of 100 VH. And then down here, we can do the same sort of thing. We're going to get scroll, And I guess that part actually doesn't matter. All we really need is this, where we can do the width is going to be 90 viewport width units. We'll do display block, probably like a margin of 1 rem auto. There we go.
Cool.
Okay, I'm ready.
Sweet. All right. So for this, we were in React, aren't we? So in the app.jsx, we can import, animate, and scroll from Motion.
Okay.
And now in a use effect, if we import, use effects, I guess is best. With an empty array, because we're just going to do this on load.
Okay, stop helping. There we go. Okay. All right.
Cool. So now we can just do document.query selector all.
All. Oh, query selector all image. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And now we want to iterate over that, because we want to do this once for every image. So for each image.
This thing is killing me right now.
So the scroll function can basically accept either a Motion One animation or any function, basically. So we can do this. What we're about to do, we can do for Motion One's animations, but we can also do for like wtih, or I had it scrubbing a video the other day, things like this.
Nice.
So anything you can plug a 0 to 1 into, basically, we can use this for. But for now, what we want to do is let's make a scroll function, and we want to pass it a Motion One animation. So as the first argument, so at the moment it's this object. But if you remove the object and replace it with an animate function, and now elements in here, so what we want to animate our image. So just type in image, and then comma, and so we want to fade this in when it comes into view, basically. So if you open an object, now in here we can do basically anything, like, so, you know, scale X, I don't know. But for now, I think let's just start with opacity. And the animation is a fade in. So because this is a scroll linked animation, normally, yeah, exactly. Like normally we, you know, with a time-based animation, we might want to do something like opacity 1. And we'd set the 0 maybe in CSS or something, but we want this persistent, you know, 2 keyframes that we can go between. We can actually put as many keyframes as you want in, but and it will interpolate through that, like as you'd expect. But that's what you need to do there. But then as the second argument to scroll, we want an object that has, we're going to give it 2 options basically. One, we're going to give it target. And this is also the image, because what we want to do is track the image's progress as it sort of moves through the viewport. We can give it other containers. If this is in another scrollable element, we could give it, you know, that as a, or you can give it a different target to animate, you know, like a progress circle SVG. I've had it do
right,
but the progress is a different element. Do you see
like
what
one
I mean?
of the you could do like the scroll container thing, where like what people do, where you can kind of see how far down the page you've scrolled by the bar getting wider.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that sort of stuff.
I mean, now that I've said this out loud, like I think that would have been a much easier thing to start with. But let's we can show, I can show you that in a sec. But so if we do, so we do target dot image colon image, didn't we? And now so now we want to actually, if you go to the if we like check that out, we can see what it's doing already.
Sure. Okay. So
it might not.
it
might not work very well, but I'm just curious. So if you scroll down now,
text is waggling. Here we go. Oh. Boop.
I see. Yeah. So what this is doing, by default, it seems to be using the first keyframe for when the image hits the top of the screen, and the last keyframe you can see when the target is hitting the bottom of the screen. And between that, it's going between 0 and 1. But really, I feel like we want it to start animating as soon as it enters the viewport. So
Right.
if you give it a new option called offset : and this is also an array. So we want 2 keyframes. You can give it more, and it will divide that. So if you say you gave it 4, it will divide that into like 0, 0.25, 0.5, and so that can start mapping really well multiple keyframes. But anyway,
And if I were to do, say, like 4 options here and 4 entries here, would it map those 1 to 1?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's just to answer the chat. This isn't intersection observer under the hood. This is actually just scroll events, but it's written in such a way that when the scroll linked animations API gets better, also not better, but like more defined or more stable, and browsers start supporting it, when we use it with the animate function, like we just have here, we'll be able to swap it out for native scroll events. Native scroll timeline under the hood. And yeah, so you get all that off-thread, performance and stuff. But we do have intersection observers better for like triggering things, so that when things enter the viewport, then it animates. So we do have a function for that, which we can take a look at that. But it's just called InView, and it's an easier way to use intersection observer. So if you've used, you mentioned you used scroll trigger earlier.
Yeah, I've used scroll trigger.
Okay, cool. So this should work basically. It's very similar. So if you make a string and it's target container, so we're saying when the start of the target, which is the image. So the way because we work on a axis agnostic way. So we don't say top and bottom or left and right because you want to switch the axis. Everything's start and end. So we're saying the start of the target on the axis that we're tracking, which is Y, when it meets the bottom of the container, which is the viewport. So here you just write end. And then we want a second keyframe, which will be, I don't know, when the start of the container
hits the center, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this should now fade it in.
Yeah, so it immediately starts fading in. I like that. And it's fully faded in by the time we get midway up the screen. And that feels a little, this feels a little better, right? Like it feels a little more kind of native to what we're doing, which is great. Like that was nice
exactly.
and easy. I like that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And so we can do things like the scroll bar is like even simpler. Like we could just chuck a div in there that's, like position fixed. And we wouldn't even need the options. Like we'd just pass it an animate function that animates the progress bar scale X. And then from 0 to 1. And it would automatically map because all of the defaults are quite, it's the targets. The target's usually the if we're on the window, it will be the scrollable area, so like the whole page basically. So that's all the defaults work quite
got
well.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, so this is really exciting stuff, and this is all documented in the Motion One site, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So for the Motion DevTools, again, I'm going to fix this keyframe bug, so it will work better than what we saw tonight. Motion.dev, the Motion.dev /tools for the Motion DevTools, and we have the scroll function is it's best just to go to Motion.dev and read the docs, but it's like /dom/scroll. I'd probably do a homepage, like a what do you call it, a landing page for scroll at some point. So I want to show off all the different examples. But yeah, this has a bunch of examples on it that are all Code Sandbox, and you could just fork those, and they're looking pretty good. Oh, and I should as well mention that but yeah, this is what I was talking about, the the scroll X, like that progress bar at the bottom there. You can see we're doing like parallax as well, which is like pretty simple with this API.
Yeah, and it's locking to a place too, which I really like. So unfortunately, we are out of time. So are there any final links that you want to share with folks if they want to learn more other than the ones we just shared?
No, that's it. Motion.dev. Oh, if you're a React user and you like the scroll animations, this is one more thing. Go to framer.com/motion. Through that path, you will find the use scroll hook. It's a new hook and it's built on the functions that you just saw. But it might play into, if you're already a Framer Motion user, it will work with that more fluidly.
Folks are asking if you stream.
I don't. No. I could. I don't. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what. Everybody, go follow Matt on Twitter, and you'll be the first to know if Matt does indeed start streaming. This show, like every show, has been live captioned. We've had Rachel with us here all day today. Thank you so much from White Coat Captioning, and that is made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, NX, and New Relic, all kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people, which I appreciate very much. While you're checking out things on the show, make sure you go and check out the schedule. We got some great stuff coming up. We're going to do some visual page building with Plasmic. We're going to do some Rust. We're going to do accessibility, Auth0 actions, and a whole bunch of things that I've been too lazy to put on the site. Promise those will be up soon. And if you got somebody you want to see on the show, make sure you give them a shout. Tag them on Twitter. Tag me. Let me know who you want to see on Learn with Jason, because I'm always looking to learn. Matt, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. This was a lot of fun. I think people are going to have a lot of fun with some animations and everything. With that being said, I think we're going to call this one a success. I'm going to go find somebody to raid, chat, and y'all stay frosty out there. Matt, thanks for spending some time with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, take care, y'all.
See you later.